why not look at all these great TV specials on the National Geographic Channel or the Discovery Channel, you know, and draw from TV. And first I thought that was kind of cheating to draw from TV, but then I talked to Mark Davis about this years ago, and he was drawing from TV. And he showed me his sketchbooks were full of, they were just newscasters, just talking, you know, and I said, so how does that work? You just sketch anything? And he said, well, sometimes his wife Alice wants to watch a certain show or the news or something. He's not really interested in watching it, so he sketches. And he has like books full of these beautiful sketches from TV. So I said, well, if he does it, then it's not cheating. Because he knows what he's talking about. So then I started doing that. And the nice thing is when you draw from TV, you get natural behavior. You know, you get these lions fighting and roaring and mating. You get the whole thing on TV, you know. Stuff you don't get in zoos. So that was a very helpful addition just to, and I'm still doing it. I still tape and TiVo all these shows. There's one that just came out called Life, done by the BBC, which is absolutely outstanding. I mean, everybody should see that stuff. It's mesmerizing, you know. So these were just some short sketches of animals. You can see that most of my drawings were done. I don't have that pen with me. I should have brought it with me. With a what they call a brush pen. It's sort of interesting because it has that soft tip, and it really allows you to be very loose with your drawing. You can't really make a stiff drawing with this brush pen. You can make a bad drawing, but it won't be stiff because it has that soft tip at the end. You know, it really gives your drawing like a nice sense of flow. Some more lines from the LA Zoo. And again, this is kind of the kind of stuff you don't see in zoos. This was of some TV special. Imagine seeing that at the zoo.
Yeah.
And then once in a while you get into a situation where when you fill up sketchbooks, every so often you do a page and you go, this stinks. This is really, you want to tear this out. And Mark Davis told me this years ago. He said, don't allow yourself to do that. You have to also keep the bad, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Keep it all in the same sketchbook, because years later you're going to look back on it and see how you got better over the years. You know, so keep it all. This was one of those pages that I almost tore out. And then I looked at it a few days after I'd done this, and I thought, well, it is of the moment. I mean, there's something about these great apes in there, so I'm glad I kept it. But you just get a feeling sometimes where you just want to rip it out and throw it away. So you really shouldn't do that. This was on our trip to South America when we were working on a movie that was going to be called Kingdom in the Sun, and then later became The Emperor's New Groove. So I was part of that research trip, and did tons of sketches down there in Peru, but then I did not work on the movie because they went through this whole story change and title change, and then I switched to Lilo and Stitch instead. But it was a hell of a trip, a hell of a research trip. This is also just stuff done here at the zoo. Sometimes you get a bit more involved, other times, you know, you just put like very basic things down, because these things are moving, which is sometimes frustrating. And I always tell students, if you're really afraid of drawing something that moves, or you don't have the experience yet to really take a mental snapshot of a particular pose, then start with the sleeping animals. You know, start with the alligators and rhinos, because they just don't move much. But I want to take you back to Lion King way back. This is how we got started. We had these animals at the studio. This was in a conference room in Glendale, and we started out with lion cubs, of course, very, very cute. And so we have a handler. These came from a farm that specialized in training animals for movies and TV shows. So they just had one handler there, and no fence or anything like that, which is of course cool when you have a lion cub. But then she came around the corner, and I tell you, you go with your easel and you just move back a little bit, because she was really checking us out. She was a young female, and so there was something exciting and scary. You know, I mean, it was exciting to be so close to a wild animal, but a little scary too. You know, this is the lioness. You see Jeffrey Katzenberg way in the distance.
You say which is which.
Yeah. he could have been a nice snack for that lioness. And we had an animal expert, Jim Fowler, over there, who some of you might know from his TV shows that he did, him and his dad. So he talked to us about lion behavior. Awfully nice guy. But then the best thing was the big male that came around the corner with a 7-year-old male called Joseph, I remember. This gigantic animal. And again, this is not at the zoo, this is in your conference room, no bigger than this, maybe a little bit larger than this, but you were really, really close to these animals.
Did he roar?
He didn't roar, he was completely comfortable. He had been in music videos and on TV. He's seen it all, done it all, you know. But what you get, you know, when you see an animal so close, I mean, there's something about having a wild animal in your environment, not in nature or out in the zoo, but next to a table or to your drawing pad. They seem, you know, especially these animals, so gigantic. You couldn't even open up your arms enough to show how large that head is. You think a lion's head might be like this. It's gigantic. It's oversized. But it really leaves you with an impression of the scale of the animal, the mass, and the weight. You know, with each step, you know, you feel that ton of weight coming through. And we know we had to try to get that into the movie because these weren't supposed to be cartoon animals like Pluto or others. You know, these were supposed to be animated lions with weight and with bones. So it was really important that we studied all this. Yeah, he was gigantic. And I've told this story before, and some of you maybe heard me say that, but I'm not going to say it again. Because at the end of the drawing session, of one of the drawing sessions, the supervising animators were asked to actually stick around and touch the lion and just get a feel for the fur. So that was exciting and scary, you know. So I remember it was my turn. We all lined up to and touch this guy, his mane, you know. So I was going to do this, and I thought, this is my drawing, and this. It's true. Decision, you know, just in case. But then, of course, once we had done tons of studies of real lion, then it was time to concentrate on the personality, and I was assigned to Scar to do the villain. So then I studied this guy for a while, and particularly this photo I think came out of Vanity magazine or something like that. I love this picture. I said, that looks like a villain already, you know? So I try to keep a few elements of his face, like those dark circles around his eyes, and certain expressions that he would get into. And also, I think Scar is the only lion who has his mane sort of, who has mousse or gel in his mane, because when it's going backward, the other lions, it's all forward, you know? But I wanted Scar to somewhat look like Jeremy Irons, you know, so I tried that. And then these were some early studies, you know, based on studying Jeremy Irons' face. And he saw himself later in the tour. I remember we had to do a recording session with him in London for the final climax, the fight between Simba and Scar. And we had to fly over there to do it because he was doing theater in London at the time. And I had some pencil tests that I had brought with me, some tapes. And I was a little nervous because I had no idea what he expected. You know, him as an animated character. This was his first voice for animation. And I remember putting the tape in, and he looked at it, and I showed him the sequence where Scar is setting up Simba before the stampede. And he says, oh my God, he does look like me. But the other thing happened that day, which was somewhat funny looking back on it. It wasn't really funny then. We had spent hours recording that whole sequence, you know, and of course it was great and perfect. And then the sound engineer came on and said, hey guys, wait, we have a problem here. And we say, what? And he said, listen to this. And he played some of the takes back. And there was Jeremy Irons acting out Scar beautifully, and there was this rumbling sound that came with every take. We couldn't figure out what it was. It was his stomach. It was his stomach, because he was going to have, he said, oh, I'm so sorry, I had just a light lunch, and I was going to have dinner with my wife later after the session, and so we had to do the whole thing over again, and order pizza and fruit and peanuts, anything for him to settle his stomach down. We had to do the whole